227,547 migrants encountered at the southern border in the month of September. That takes the total year over year to 2.3 million. 20 known or suspected terrorists were arrested at the border last month as well. 20 known terrorists. Despite all of this, President Biden is still wanting Arizona to remove the shipping containers that have been filling in open gaps in the border wall. Arizona gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake joined me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, blasting that decision.
It's just another example, Maria, where we're seeing that our federal government is siding with the cartels. They're siding with the traffickers. It's shocking. I want to finish President Trump's wall, and we plan to do that when I'm governor. But in the short term, let's get something, a barrier of some sort, to cover these gaps where people are pouring in and where the drugs are pouring in. I'm glad the governor is fighting back.
Joining me right now is Texas Congressman, member of the House Armed Services Committee, and an Air Force veteran himself, Pat Fallon. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. I mean, it's interesting that the administration is so bent on forcing Arizona to remove the shipping containers at the border wall. You know, it's like, what is that? You know, what are these shipping containers doing wrong just by trying to cover up the holes in that wall that they are insisting that Arizona officials remove those shipping containers? They did that so that they could try to slow the flow of illegal people coming in to Arizona. Your thoughts?
Well, Maria, you know, very good point. You know who else wants those shipping containers removed? The drug cartels. So this administration has been doing the work of the cartels since they got into office nearly 2 years ago. I mean, just look at the tail of the tape. As you just said, 227,000 illegal border crossers this past month. That's one of the worst on record. This is not a crisis. This is a catastrophe. And we seized 1,826 pounds of fentanyl just last month, which is enough to kill 414 million people. And it's more fentanyl that was seized in all of fiscal year 2019, which means a lot more is coming across right now.
It's just unbelievable. We have not heard a peep about the fentanyl crisis that is occurring in this country from the White House. And you know, all of this fentanyl seized at the southern border. Imagine what we're not catching and why we are seeing a poisoning of America. Do you think this is like an intentional poisoning of American citizens? What is going on?
You know what? There's no doubt. I mean, you look at the deaths, okay? There were 107,000 opioid overdose deaths last year, 80,000 from fentanyl. Most fentanyl is produced in China, and then, of course, almost all of it's smuggled through Mexico. This is asymmetrical warfare from one of our, largest geopolitical competitors. We lost about 300 people a day during World War II, Maria. We're losing almost that same amount via the opioid crisis in this country, and China is at the cause of it.
Well, and that's why I don't see this as an overdose situation. I mean, you're not looking at people taking drugs and overdosing on them. This is a poisoning. American citizens are being poisoned. That's what this is. And you're right. The underlying chemicals originate in China. So China is sending this stuff into Mexico, into America. For what reason? To poison us? And then there's the 101st Airborne Division. It's been sent to Europe for the first time in almost 80 years. The light infantry unit, nicknamed the Screaming Eagles, stationed just around 3 miles from Romania's border with Ukraine. Congressman, your thoughts on this as Putin claims that Ukraine will use a dirty bomb?
Yeah, that's chilling because that kind of odd claim, really outrageous claim, might be a setup for him to escalate this war. Whether he plans on using chemical, biological, or even some kind of low-yield nuclear weapon. And we have to make it very clear. I mean, the Biden administration, I think one of the reasons why we're in this mess in the Ukraine right now is because he was projecting weakness. I mean, Ronald Reagan always said, when the forces of freedom are strong, that's when tyrants, go cower. But when they're weak, that's when they attack. And that's exactly what happened. President Trump, there was no Russian aggression during the 4 years of the President Trump's administration, because I think Putin didn't know what he would do, and he was afraid of him.
Yeah. I want to get your take on Iran as well, Congressman. Iran is now vowing to sue the United States, accusing it of direct involvement in the sweeping anti-government protests that have happened for more than a month now. I want to show you these pictures because people are really showing courage in Iran right now. They are chanting death to the supreme leader. And meanwhile, this administration keeps talking about an Iran deal. Look at this picture of the people in the street in Iran right now. It's absolutely extraordinary what is taking place. Florida Congressman Michael Waltz joined me on Sunday Morning Futures yesterday, slamming the administration's handling of Iran and this pursuit of an Iran deal, which would strengthen the hand of leadership there, even in the face of these people on the street. Watch.
If it's not dead, it's on life support. I mean, as badly, as desperately as the Biden administration wants this deal, where they just make concession after concession after concession, a total appeasement strategy between the Iranians openly trying to assassinate American officials, attacking journalists on American soil, now literally shooting schoolgirls in the streets. On top of all of that, they're providing advanced drones to the Russians.
So, Congressman, what about that? Do you think the Iran deal is going to move forward? And what is your take on these people lining the streets of Iran? This picture, I think, is just extraordinary to show all of these people trying hard to be heard in Iran.
Well, the freedom protesters in Iran should be supported and lauded for their bravery, as you just have, you just done, Maria. And, you know, this administration is, as my good friend Mike Waltz said, they're coddling and appeasing this regime when we should be saying, I'm leaving a letter right now to the Biden administration demanding that the talks cease. They are supplying service. There's just new reports. They're supplying surface-to-surface missiles in Ukraine and suicide drones and sending folks to the Crimea to help Russia with training. So they are an active enemy combatant. We're pouring billions of dollars into Ukraine to help them fight for their survival. And the Iranian, you know, it's Iran, China, and Russia are conducting naval exercises as well. They are the new axis of evil.
Yeah, it appears so. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much. Pat Fallon joining us this morning on Foreign Affairs.